Thanks in a minute. Because number one, we all know that she's amazing, but if you did not know, she's also a little bit of a foodie. And she's the one that put together this buffet of amazingness for us. So Rita, come on in. Destiny, please let us know how we can be of service to you and you can be of service to us.
Yes, good. Well, hello, everybody. Great to see you all familiar faces. Of course, I'm your in-house concierge, so I'm here with you and your clients. There's not too much new information, of course, with the current market for electricity, rates are kind of averaging around 13-14 cents. I always try to make sure I give the clients the best rates that we have and also educate them on how to shop for electricity or even how to read their electricity bill. So if you have clients or family members who are concerned about how much they're paying or just want to know more information, I am your girl, because I can just walk them through the process and help them rates with other companies. Because of course, we want everyone to sign up with Reliant. But for me personally, it's all about saving money overall, just because it get pretty expensive. How things been going in Texas, so, of course, I set up electricity, I do temporary service for your houses that you may be looking or working on. I also can help with commercial leads, and I also do home security and through Vivint and internet and cable as well, so. As you all may know, you get paid $75 per electricity referral and $300 for every home security referral as well. It's a great way to earn some extra cash, either for yourself or just give it back to your clients. I know a lot of people who do that. So yeah, I'm just here to help you all make your clients feel, like they're thought of when it comes to utilities. It's get really confusing if you're not familiar with what you're looking for. So yeah.
And you may have heard me say this before, but I want to say it again because she is here. I did overhear Destiny one night when I was over at the Highland Village office. I've worked beside her for 3 to 5 years now, however long, and we've done a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
But I've never actually heard her do her job until a few months ago. She's amazing. The patience on this woman cannot be matched. I was about to take the phone out of her hand and handle this lady. She was professional, patient. She offered solutions when the person was confused, and she got to the end of it very quickly when it could have gone downhill. So I mean, your customer service was outstanding. I'm super impressed.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that actually does remind me, I also do offer self-enrollment options as well. So if you do have clients that are interested in just doing everything on their own, I can still send that to them and they can sign up themselves. And I can also still help them choose a plan too. And then, like she was saying, it can get very confusing shopping for electricity. So I just try to make it as clear as possible and help them understand what they're signing up for. So it's not a surprise when they get their first bill. So.
And also did an audit online to see where I was where I should be and the plan I should be on. I've been a Reliant customer for 18 years. And so if you are a current Reliant customer, still talk to her because she'll tell you what plan you should be on based on your usage, which I don't know. I'm like, just tell me.
Yeah.
But she was able to look at mine and put me in the best space.
She did that with me too, yes. You said that at a meeting, and so then I called her and I was like, hey, and it was true. Even though I check in with her every so often, because you said that and I did that, so even if you've done this recently, still do what Tracy's saying, because it works.
Every year.
It went down again.
Mhm.
And it can be so simple, you don't have to have a 20-minute conversation with her. I hug her every time I see her, but normally she gets emails from me with in between tenants on rental properties.
Yeah.
I need this on this day, off that day, it's an email and it's done.
And they actually don't have to be clients, so anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the best way to send your clients my way is we do have a referral website that you can enter your client's information in if you have an account, or you can just directly text me, email me, or call me, and I'll make sure I take care of it.
Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I almost breakfast.
Oh,
Yes.
so like
Oh, we
above
love
and
it.
beyond.
Yeah, so and if you did
Incredible.
come in while she was doing that, please feel free to help yourself. She's got quesadillas, burritos, there are smoothies, they're giant, so we put down little cups so you can sample, or you can take the whole thing, and there are bowls where there's also bowls where you can sample. And we're gonna get started, but I do want you to notice there is one empty chair. Our fourth panelist, Therese, is at a closing right up the street. She will be coming in hot and she will be here, so don't be surprised if we have somebody joining us part way. People on the chat, I've got you guys muted, but if you have a question or you want to pipe in and say anything you want to the panelists, then let me know. And I am right here and I will respond and ask your question for you, so. There she is. So make yourself comfy and grab something to eat. We'll start intros down here if you want to grab a drink or whatever. Yeah.
Sorry.
So I want you guys to know who you're hearing from today, because the reason they were chosen is because I started thinking about the luxury panel and I was brainstorming with Tracy about this, and we're looking at all of our roster and realizing in this market, in a market where we've got so many different pockets of properties that are completely different from their neighbors, right? So you've got luxury properties sitting right beside moderately priced homes, sitting right beside rentals. What's interesting about Dallas-Fort Worth is there are different definitions to luxury. So there are brokerages that consider themselves luxury. There are agents that consider themselves luxury. Some agents consider a property price point luxury. Some agents consider a style of service luxury. So these were chosen because we're sitting there brainstorming with Tracy, and they all actually have a similar yet different perspective on what luxury is. And I feel like you guys are really gonna like what they have to say. So if we can, ladies, we'll just kind of start with Mary and then go on down. If y'all could just say who you are, what office you're with, and maybe how long you've been in the business, and then we'll just kind of go from there so that everybody knows who you are.
Okay, I'm Mary Lanier. I'm here in South Lake with Remax. And this is my 19th year in real estate, so I'm determined to make it past 20.
Yes.
I'm Amanda Anderson Olson. I am at the South Lake office and I think completed my 8th year.
Which is crazy.
It is
Yeah,
crazy, right? I
Yeah.
know, it's crazy.
I know, look at Sonia Leonard here at the South Lake office. And I have made it past 20 years, so
Wow.
so last year was my 20th year licensed.
Wow.
I'm Teresa Sturdon. I'm with the
Cross
Village
country,
office,
yeah.
cross country, and I've been there and done it for 29 years.
Well, but also you've got a little bit of it in your blood too.
I do.
She also grew up listening to it and all of that as well. So, and actually so does Amanda. You and Amanda share that similarity. Amanda
Yes,
grew up with her
yes.
father in real estate, listening to him sell houses from the time she could probably talk as well. So.
Well, it's mathematically impossible, really, for me to be in a 29 years.
It's true, it's true. I don't believe it.
You were
I don't believe it. Check
That's
it.
before the 18-year-old requirement.
Her mom was on top of it.
Her mom was on top of it. So. All right, and so to that point about the introduction, and you don't, ladies, you don't have to answer every question, and you can always pipe in with anything that you think you want to add that's not on the questions. But if you could, in no particular order, just sort of say what luxury means to you. How do you define it in your business? Luxury real estate. Anybody?
I mean, I think the hardest part, like you said, for luxury, and even when we went to get our luxury designation, the definition of luxury depends from market to market on price point. We were all talking that I think we were in this market that kind of naturally grew into a luxury market in the areas that we're in. And so for me, the luxury market really is a price point, and then certain expectations with materials, amenities, stuff that goes along.
Your actual process.
Yeah.
Okay, I like
Of
that.
the house.
Anybody else?
I thought this was the hardest question.
Yeah.
But on that list, I was hoping
Yeah.
I just skip this one.
Yeah. This is the hardest.
Because, I feel like, I was gonna say, I don't feel like I'm a luxury agent, and that just sounds so lame, but you are who you are, you do what you do, and it becomes the norm, and it isn't weird or scary. So to me, when I look at something that's luxury, it's what scares me, because I might sell luxury every day, but if it's what I do every day, it's what I do every day, so it's not scary. So there's a lot more that I hope we get to, that's the meat and bones of how we operate in that field. But to me, it's when I'm really outside my comfort zone. And I think you had 3 options for us. It was the price of the house, the marketing of the house, and I think the customer's perception of their house. And I would tell you all 3 are true. So they're all true.
Yeah.
So they're really, I think, really in many ways, yes, the price point defines it. Yes, the location defines it. But sometimes luxury in your market might be $500,000 and that defines it. And so you treat that like it's $1 million house.
That's a really good point. And just in case anybody here does not know, Remax defines a collection property, Remax collection, as anything that is double the zip code's average price point. So to Mary's point, if Louisville's average is 300,000, then a luxury property to them is 600. Whereas if South Lake's average is 800,000, that same property is not gonna be luxury over here on this side of town. So if you ever need to know that information, you can get into your Max Center and they've got a 900-page PDF that you can search your zip code and it will tell you what falls into the collection because Remax will put some extra marketing behind it. But that's another topic for another day. So, okay, well, thank you for saying that. And then if you guys could just kind of say your history with, luxury residential real estate, how did you find yourself there? Tell me a little bit maybe about the first time you sold a luxury home and how you felt, or whatever you want to say about your process of getting to that point.
Right, nobody wants.
You are,
to-
yeah.
On the luxury part, to be honest, in my mind, every house is luxury because it's a luxury to the person that's living in it, whether it's 300, 200, a mobile home, because I will say, one of the best customers we ever had, the first deal we did with them, they bought some property with a mobile home on it.
Mhm.
And they ended up, several years later, we ended up selling them a $10 million piece of property. So it's just kind of how it, you never know who that person works for, what they do. To me, most of the time, the wealthiest people, you would have no idea. And
They're the ones that show up in sweats in the show.
and you just have to do a good job and make every person feel like it's their house is the most important, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
And that client was likely turned down by other agents who didn't
They
want the
were,
mobile
and
home
they
deal.
were,
Yes.
he was turned away at the gate, at a place, at a gated facility,
Yep.
a gated house, a gated community, and, he was like, I will never live there, but I will live there, and that's how it went.
It's really true all over the market. David and I have talked about this in the car industry. It's like that too. The people with the wealthiest don't present themselves that way. That's how they got wealthy. So what about you guys? How'd you get into it? How'd you find yourself there?
I think I was very organic. It had to do with where I lived and the fact that my husband and I are golfers, and many, many years before real estate was even in my thoughts, we joined a club, a country club. But the first, Sonia and I were just talking about this, this has made us go back many years. And the first luxury type client was a young woman from the club. She and her husband, he was a Top Gun fighter pilot, who flew for American, but was on
How
reserve.
exciting.
I helped out with their newborn child just to be a nice person, because that's what I am.
Also, you're a baby
And-
magnet.
And I'm a baby magnet.
Yes.
So then they asked me to sell their starter South Lake home, because he was doing well and move into their next South Lake home. And then he got recruited by Lockheed Martin and went up with them. And then they wanted their third step South Lake home. And then Lockheed decided to move him to Washington. And then she knew people from Washington who got, and anyway, just one thing led to another thing. And she talked about me amongst our peers, and then the next thing you know, I do also, I don't even remember. I meant to look last year. I'm sure I sold something in the 300. I know I did in the 300. So I am not like Sonia, just luxury, but it just was very organic, and it just kept growing. And
But what's really cool and inspiring for the rest of us about that is three of you just basically said you grew with your clients into luxury. You all three had people that came to you at a different price point and sort of moved in there with them.
that's my exact story, even from this last year, which is when I just sold the largest home that I've ever sold this last year, which
Congratulations.
thank you.
Awesome.
I would have retired. just
Yeah.
so you know. I thought about it.
That's it, I'm out.
No, you wouldn't.
No, you're ready for the next.
But I was sitting with them, and that we were talking about how long we've known each other, and they were saying to me that the first deal that you sold for us, which was a townhome in Irving, was 299,000. I couldn't even remember what it was. I knew I could drive you to it today, but I couldn't remember the price. And they moved up. Then they bought a single family home because they had a new baby. And then they moved out of that. They moved over to South Lake, and then they went to Westlake. And it's been 18 years in the making of getting to their $6 million house that they bought this last year. But it's
How cool is that?
Amazing.
but then I have, 2, 3 of those stories. And so for those of you that want to get into luxury, And I say, well, don't worry, in 20 years, you may be there. That's probably not the answer that you want. But it's all about treating everybody as the most important person in your life and keeping in touch with those people. And not everybody is going to have the ability to scale their wealth from buying a 300 to whatever, but they will typically move up, and then you don't know who they know once they get into those arenas. But it's not something that, I don't think it's something that you can just say, I'm going to be a luxury agent and this is how I'm going to do it. There was, those of you that have been around here for a long time, there was a gal, do you remember her, Martha? She came into this market, like busting out into luxury. And she was down in Euless. I mean, she just didn't have, you didn't look like her address was where she was going to be luxury, but she came in with a huge budget and it was big. And she just hit the ground running. She marketed to everything, the luxury specialist, and you could believe it because this was the marketing. It was just amazing. So it actually didn't work because of the economy, but in a different time it might have. But unless you're going to do it that way, when you have a huge budget behind you and the confidence, I guess, to keep going, I don't think you can make it happen in a short period of time like that. It's for the long haul.
So that is the organic method, I agree. Is there anything that any of you do for stranger business like she did with the marketing? I know some of you girls do real marketing and things like that. Is there any time you've ever taken an area that you've either sold a luxury home and decided to try to market to that farm, or picked a farm out of the MLS and decided to farm the luxury area, or has it all been organic?
I would say it's organic, but it's also very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and I would say to you, 99% of our friends have a whole lot more money than we have. But we have made a point, and Nancy Croney, actually, who is part of Victor's team, she taught me this a long time ago. We host in our home. So when my friends come over and I know what they like, I know what wine they like to drink, I serve nicer wine, or, we host in our home. I'm involved in things. So I market and I farm, but I don't farm to a neighborhood, really.
It's a sphere.
It's a sphere. And truly they're all friends, but I can tell you one thing I have learned: no matter how great a friend your friend is, if you do not come across as an expert, if they don't see you as an expert in your field, they're not going to trust you with what is their biggest investment. So it just so happens that my sphere is where most of my business comes from, but not just because I sit back and, say, oh, I have friends and they'll call me. I mean, I have to work at it.
What about you girls? Have you ever attempted to specifically, I'm going to try to go get business from this place?
I have not.
So it's been natural, which is excellent to speak to your
The horse
skills.
business,
Yes.
so a lot of my stuff comes from farms and horse people too, and that, that's that totally happened organic, but it's also, I'm in the business, so we do a lot of horse properties and farms and things like that.
Yes. Well, and Tracy was telling us you've even sold horses that were worth as much of a house. So so that's own ball game right there. Yeah. So, but
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
The question, so what I was thinking when I was going through this was, most of you know that the majority of what I do is the Buffini Working by Referral program. And so the process there is to cultivate the people that you know, keep in touch with your past clients, and they'll refer you to their friends and family, which is an absolutely fabulous model. But the challenge with that is their friends and family are all scattered. Whoever they send you where they need you. So there's no real geographical focus with that. And because of that, there's no price point focus. You get to go where they need you. So I don't think if you focus on that model that you can really dictate a price point or grow into a luxury, because you just spread around. And that is what I do a lot of. My business is very well directed to that model. And I wanted more control. So what I bolted onto that was the geographical farm, which this is how I feel like I've raised my price point, is to identify an area where the price point is what you want it to be. So right now, my average sales price is 800,000, which is about the average of the home in the neighborhood where I live. So when I moved in there, I decided to blast that and really focus on that. If I could get business from that, then that's going to naturally bring more deals in that price range. So that has been very successful to me. And this last year, 20% of my business came from that one neighborhood. And that's actually 20% of the houses sold in the neighborhood, which is it's pretty darn high, actually. If you
And how many
believe that.
years of your presence was that? Was that your
Three,
third
it's
year?
only 3
Okay.
years, yeah. So if you do want to raise your price point and you want to do it in any other way that's more focused than organic, then in my experience, the geographical farm has worked. It doesn't happen by just living there. It doesn't happen by just saying that you'd like to do this. It's a whole process. And Melanie mentioned the real marketing, which is the core of what I started off doing. And that has been very successful for me.
I know several agents do real marketing, and I know you have tried it in the past. Are you still currently doing it?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever tried
I've
it.
never done any.
It came from this real marketing came to the South Lake office with a fury about a decade ago, and a bunch of us got in on it. And so Sonia did bring something for me to pass around. So I'm gonna start with Rita and pass around. But essentially, when you pick your subdivision, then they help you put together a really gorgeous piece of marketing material that lands in the mailboxes. So to Sonia's point about with intention marketing, this is not a 3x5 postcard. This is not a flyer that they printed at the office that they door knocked and stuck on the door with a rubber band. This is not a business card in a sweaty hand on a hot day. This is a luxury looking piece.
Mhm.
So this can be used, to Teresa's point and to Amanda's point, to be sent to non-luxury neighborhoods to make them feel the luxury service. But it can also be sent to luxury neighborhoods to show that you are capable of marketing on that level. So let's pass this around, everybody can take a look at it. I just wanna say how beautiful it is. She added all the new pretty Remax colors and marks to it, which you guys know I'm a nerd for, so.
And we also did a panel on that last year. So not
Mhm.
to take this in the direction of geographical farming, but there
Yes.
is a recording out there if you want to go back and review what was said there.
Mhm. So she's referring to, there's a panel that talks, the whole panel talks about with intent, how to move into a neighborhood and how to farm that neighborhood. So that is a great recording. She's right. So besides the approach, obviously now we're looking to make spheres that are elevating our price point. We're looking to retain our clients while they possibly move up in price points. But beyond that, once you're there, once you've got a client, they've called you and they've said, I either want to buy or sell. Have you guys found, since you do all sell both traditional properties and luxury properties, have you guys found differences in their expectations on the buyer side or on the seller side? What, tell me about that.
I mean, at first I said yes. The expectations on like the material things in the house, of course, like the type of countertops, the type of appliances, the quality of that build or whatever. But as I'm sitting here, I go to $400,000 homes with people and they're like, oh, this is crazy. You know, so it's kind of, I think everyone has their own expectation in their own price point. They always kind of have to manage. And something I learned as I started getting in the luxury world is that actually became my expectation and kind of
Yes.
my price of estimates and stuff. And I had to take a look at where I'm at, who I'm with, to kind of tailor into that world of, well, this is how much this could be, and not being like, oh, it's only like $6,000. You know what I mean? It's kind of making sure I semi-separate it to not come across at a lower price point, which, like, I agree, it's all luxury, especially it's incredible. Anyone buying a house, it's incredible, but not coming in of like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you can get Taj Mahal quartzite, blah, 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 when it doesn't make sense at a $300,000 home, or, you know, it's kind of, they all have the same expectation. And it's just, I had to realize where I'm at. To meet
But you
it.
are actually feeding directly into where I'm going with this point, which is your mindset is the luxury
Yeah.
mindset. So they're having expectations and their expectations may grow with them with the price of the house, but
Mhm.
your mindset also grew. Sonia, you were gonna say something.
Oh, I just have lots of answers, so I felt like, yes, when I'm working with someone who really is, you know, the multi-million-dollar price range, their attitude is different in my experience.
Tell about it.
So what I found is that Mary mentioned this, they need you to be the professional.
Mhm.
They are used to having professionals in their life to do everything. And they don't mind paying for it, but you need to be good at what you do. And if you are their professional real estate advisor and you show up as that, they're most likely going to be a lot more loyal than maybe other people are who don't understand and are not used to that. So it's kind of easier after a while because I have several families that I just know, they just call me because I am their person, like they call their CPA. They wouldn't think, oh, which realtor shall I call today? You know, it's like you are that person in their life and they pay you for that service, but you need to be good at it and demonstrate that you are. But once you have got that, I think that's easier. But then the other thing, the problems are bigger. I like selling multi-million-dollar, but to be quite honest, I'd rather have 4 or 5 $500,000 deals pending because there's so much pressure. And the problems, I've had problems with some of my real estate deals that you wouldn't even imagine were problems out there. And they call you with, well, this is the problem. Like, what, you know, like
Like what? Like what?
insurance. Or
Okay,
something,
okay.
you know.
That's a big
Oh,
yeah.
And I'm like, what?
So my $6 million deal, 3 times in the last 2 weeks before closing was almost off the table because their insurance providers were canceling the policy.
Yeah.
And then I get a call from my client, our insurance has been pulled. Okay, what are we going to do now? Well, we're just going to hope we can, find another one. Then he called 2 days later. Okay, we're back on board. I'm like, thank God. And then he goes, well, for now, next day, I'm sorry, that's gone as well. So, living like that is about kill you. It's just really stressful. A lot of these people that, a lot of things are more disposable to them than in a lower price range. And so they'd be like, well, we'll take the furniture as well then if we can't negotiate on the repair. Oh, okay, what, the whole house? Well, except for this one Chotsky here. And now you're like, okay, now I got to figure out how to convey a whole house of furniture. Now you
Does that touch the
a lot
appraisal?
of-
Is that non-realty? Can you guys
Well,
just handle that on the side?
a lot of the
Thanks.
time, you know, no lender involved.
No
It's
lender,
Kind of good,
right.
but then it does become a lot different. We've had, well, let's just throw in this car. Well, now I want this.
Throw in
car.
this car?
No, just like crazy stuff. It
Yours is
takes
like a horse.
lot of
Well,
It sounds like you become a concierge where you basically gotta manage every aspect and beyond to the point of, the sky's the limit.
Well, that is the other thing, Jared, as well. And convenience becomes a lot more important to them than price. We don't want to close on that afternoon because we're having our 2-year-old's birthday party. We've got 300 people coming. Well, that's the time we want to close. Well, no, it's important. I don't care. Figure it out, So yeah, you need to provide the level of service because they're used to having things done their way. And you just got to figure out how to make that happen. I
But I
had
do think though, sometimes it's okay to not know the answer.
Yes.
And go, you know what? Awesome question. Let me find out for sure. I think I know, but before I open my mouth, I want to find out from somebody who knows, and they'll appreciate that.
Yes,
It's
they
okay
will.
to not know.
But you're
if you
still establishing yourself as a resource.
Yes, you're like, okay, hey, I can figure that out. Like I sold a game ranch or it was a big deal and there was giraffes, cows, things from Africa. I had no idea what they were and they kept asking me questions. I was like, okay, hold on. I'll get you the answer. I'm like, I have no clue, but they were fine with it as long as you present yourself as, hey, I'm gonna figure this out for you, then it's okay to
And
not know.
having the connections, like
Yeah.
you don't know how to price the giraffe or whatever, but now I know how to go do, but like in our real world. it's
Now we
like
know.
They want you to fix everything, so we call each other, right?
Yeah.
I needed this immediately, and they just want you to deal with it, and we can't like physically deal with it. We have all you guys, so that's the blessing of being here.
So don't panic if you don't know.
Yeah.
It's okay to say it.
Because no one.
So jokingly, somebody on this channel might have said, fake it till you make it.
Yes, I say it all the time.
Well, and I would not agree with that statement. So one thing that, why are you laughing?
I guess because all of us said it.
Yeah,
So-
like everyone but you, Mary, okay?
So because we both said it this week.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
so one thing that it's not a secret, I don't have a college degree. And I make really good money in real estate. And most of the clients that I serve are very, very smart people. And you can't fake that. I mean, you have to be able to come across with knowledge. So to your point, I have said, I'm not certain, but let me check on that. Or even sometimes, I'm not, they'll say something, you know, it's a business term, like, I don't even know, P&L sheet. I know now what that is, but there was a time in my life that I didn't know what that was, or. So I think that when you do this job and you start helping your clients, it's very important you don't fake it till you make it. You're honest with them. You know, I can find this out for you. Let me do some research on this, however it is. But and for me, I had to learn how to be comfortable amongst people who are very successful. And my not having a degree had nothing to do with my smarts. It had to do with some dumb decisions I might have made when I was young. But
More about that later.
a different panel. A different husband. A different husband.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
We're gonna meet
But
for
I mean, I think that for anyone out there who, you know, has a degree, but it's not something they've ever utilized, or they feel that way, I promise you, in real estate, you can become an expert. You can become really good at what you do. And so I encourage you, but I don't encourage.
Well, I'll say when I'm meaning
But
fake
see,
it
you're
till
talking
you
about
make it.
faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me a second. That
Yeah.
to me,
You're faking your confidence
that's
if
what I
you're
was
feeling
gonna say.
shaken inside.
I'm saying like
Well,
fake
now
it
that
till
I
you
have
make
done,
it,
yes, I
like.
have faked my confidence.
Right, and like, I'm not a millionaire, but fortunately, my friends happen to all be having a lot of money and they welcome me into their world. And I was gonna say, one of the things to get into the luxury world is if you happen to find yourself amongst people that have a high net wealth, is pay attention and ask questions. Of course, don't talk your head off and ask stupid questions in a sense, but if you pay attention and you are actually interested in their job, their world, you can get tidbits. And you don't, it's kind of like an inspector. You can know a little about a lot.
Mhm.
And that leads you into your next conversation with someone that might be at a higher level, and you can touch on this conversation that sparks them, and you know, you don't even have to say a lot, but you're like, well, yeah, I totally know that. Or just knowing about all the businesses that are coming here, different kind of developments that are going, just like tidbits of people with a lot of money are typically in. But that's what I mean, like, fake till you make it. Like, yeah, I'm here. Everyone here has a lot of money, and I feel like I have a lot of money in my world, or, you know, just kind of like going along with it. Don't fake that you're knowledgeable at your job. Always ask questions, but that's what I meant with that.
Sonia, you're busting to say something. I see it.
Oh, no, I can't remember what it was. I think, well, no, I was going back to some of the practicalities of the differences, if you want me to
Yeah,
go there
I
again,
do.
because I was just thinking, it is different showing luxury property than just what you would normally pull up in your, you know, wherever, I don't want to diminish the normal houses, because it sounds like we're talking
Right.
down to them, but you know, in the normal course of your day, you're used to taking a buyer out. You pull up the MLS, you identify 5 or 6 houses, you call Broker Bay and you schedule. It doesn't happen like that typically in the multi-million-dollar house. First of all, you can't do like 5 back to back because they're probably too big, it's gonna take you too long. And so you have to be a lot more strategic. A lot of the listing agents might need proof of funds or some kind of letter of wealth to show to them before they'll even let you make the appointment. They are almost always going to be appointment required. So just the stress of showing afternoon with clients where you've got agent to meet on most of them, the listing agent wants to be present.
I actually love it. I love the agent to meet.
I love it.
I'm like, take me away.
It annoys the buyers too.
It
when the
annoys
agent is there.
The buyers.
Yeah,
and
it
annoys
makes
me.
them like-
The only people that like it are the sellers, and they're not even there. So
I like it
why
because
would you say-
they're so knowledgeable.
Me
You
too.
just try to befriend the agent and then, you know.
But maybe if you don't normally sell in that arena, you don't even know what that all means, but it just basically means that when you make the appointment, you're going directly to the listing agent who's going to tell you that they need to be present at the home. So now they need to coordinate their schedule, the seller's schedule, and you already have your schedule and your buyer's schedule. So this is just like, you know, a total miracle that you can get in the house. And then now you know you've got to meet that person. So you can't be there sometime between 1 and 2. You know, you got to be there at 1 or 5 after, or you're already kind of bad news. Getting into properties that are in gated and guarded neighborhoods can sometimes be a challenge. And previewing in that is almost impossible. If you want to sell in Vaquero, you're not going to get in there. And if you're in there more than the God thinks you should be, they're going to come looking for you and hunt you down. So you can't even just like tool around. So that becomes stressful if you're trying to prepare. Because sometimes if we're going in an area we don't know that well, we do the right thing. We want to go preview, we want to walk around, drive around, whatever, so we know where we're going. And if you can't do adequate preparation, I've been in that situation where I've been very nervous just because I'm like, oh, they're following me. I hope I don't take the wrong turning, because if I end up in a cul-de-sac and I've got to turn around, then I'm like, oh my God, because I wasn't able to properly prepare. So that's stressful. The whole agent to meet thing is very interesting. Now you're meeting an agent who is a listing agent on a luxury property, and you may be like faking your confidence. Now you're going to come in there as being like, I know all about this too. They're typically going to either give your buyer a tour or give them an overview and offer advice and answers, but they're going to sit there in the foyer the whole time. So now you've got the additional pressure of someone's kind of there waiting on you and watching you. So that whole showing experience is very different. Now, with a good listing agent and a patient buyer, it can be very valuable, and it can be a whole lot easier than showing the house yourself, because you don't have to do anything. And then if there are questions that the buyer has that you don't know the answer to, you just turn to the person listing the property and get the answer right there. So it can be very helpful. But if you're very new in that area and you really are struggling with confidence, that whole process can be quite intimidating.
And I think the same different, but when you have a luxury listing, it's not that you do a lot more steps, but you definitely do more steps. Stephanie and I had a listing this year on the golf course, 2.7 million or more, actually. I think we listed it for. And, you know, we did things to sort of bring it out. We had an open house and we had fine wine and charcuterie and invited all the other luxury agents in the area, which is, I'm sure somewhere down here, it's always helpful to have the name of other luxury agents or a relationship, even from other brokerages. And, you know, so, and it didn't fly off the market. It was on the market for a while, but it did sell. It was a great stat to add to our, you know, numbers. And, but there are things you do like that besides marketing stuff, or I mean, photography type things that you can do when you have a higher end listing that sets you apart. If you're in a neighborhood where higher end is 600,000 and there are 4 $600,000 houses out there, reach out to those other agents and say, let's do, you know, a broker open, every one of us. And you have to entice the agents to come. So you have gift cards that you raffle off. And if you know, attend all 4, each house has a gift card, or however you want to work it out.
Somebody has lunch, somebody has
Yeah.
dessert.
So it's just different. It's different. More steps maybe.
When you are taking that listing, obviously you have already had the appointment.
Mhm.
And so at the appointment process, you must be able to present what your plan is to market their home. Is your presentation to a luxury seller different than your presentation to a, say, traditional seller, 300,000 seller? What's in the packet? Is it different?
I think what I might say I'm gonna do is different. Like, I'm not necessarily gonna do a wine and cheese Friday afternoon open house for a different price point. I think, you know, but as far as my presentation, no, I don't have different presentations for each price point.
But what I will say about that is I have seen Mary's presentation and it looks luxury anyway. So that goes back to that marketing approach, like she was saying, where it is a mindset where she is giving something that when a $300,000 seller receives the same presentation, they're looking at it like, and when a several $1 million person sees it, they're looking at it like it's expected. It's what they expect.
Right.
So what about you guys? Is there anything that you do to differently market or to speak to them at that listing appointment about how their property is different?
I'm a terrible agent. I'm just gonna give it to you.
No, you're not.
We don't have, I don't do a listing presentation.
Okay.
Never, just don't. I mean, I go in, I just.
That does not make you terrible. It makes you relatable to many of us. So we
I
want
just
to
go
hear
in,
this.
like, right,
Yes.
and then with Tracy, Tiffany and I mean, we're just a lot coming at you. I mean, there's 3 of us and we've all got big personalities and.
Yep.
You know, we try to all go together, but sometimes I'll go to a house or Tracy will go to a house or Tiffany will go to a house and we kind of just have our little way of doing it and we just come at you. I don't even know what else to say. We don't have.
But that
a
is, but
presentation.
that is a presentation.
It
You
is.
three are the
Yeah.
presentation.
You know?
And would that look different if it was a $200,000 home? Would you guys all three still do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
See that, so that is the exact answer we're looking for, because it makes it obtainable for anybody, really. What about you guys? I know you had for a while tried to focus on that. You were gonna do, I know Martha has a
Always,
marketing presentation, it
Always.
was like a certain percentage for different places.
always trying to be like Martha Dever.
I know.
So I'm the same. I feel like I was just talking to my dad. Cause he was like, oh, checking out information about brokerage services on our signature line. And I'm like, I feel like we're always trying
Good for Woody.
I know, listen, he told me yesterday how to do it, but don't worry, I already had it
Well, that's
online.
because he asked the ninja
Oh,
on Monday and
like- So anyway, with that, I was just like, man, it's so crazy because it's just like, yeah, with the ninjas, it's like, I'm always trying to do a listing book or a buyer book, or like, there's always something I'm trying to like perfect or not perfect, but get a listing presentation down, but it's the same as you, like I never have. But I do find it very necessary to be prepared to answer questions and
sure.
show, like, one of the questions, even for marketing, is like getting videos or photos and the brochures printed out. Is I do that for all listings. For the higher dollar ones, I do maybe a better quality video or a longer video or spend a little more money on that. Because all of those are part of, if they're asking my listing presentation, if I happen to not know them, I can show them, you know, and then it's also with your social media, like it's more than just for that listing. But I feel like I'm always trying to, my to-do list is like 525 now. It's just never ending.
I particularly think the best agents in the industry are ones that are always trying to improve their business.
Yeah.
That's one consistency I've noticed. It doesn't matter if we're talking about luxury or any topic. The
Mhm.
best agents in the business, if you ask them about real estate, they will tell you that exact same thing that just came out of your mouth. They're always trying to improve.
Nice.
What about you guys budgeting for that and process? So you said something about you may spend a little more money. What does that look like? Do you sit there and, you know, obviously you don't communicate that to the seller, that's behind the scenes, but how do you determine that? What's fair and what you're going to do for that?
I think it just depends, but like I'm not selling ranches and horses, but on the houses, I really do see a difference with staging.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate even saying it, but like for a $300,000 home, I'm not gonna be putting 3 to 6, however much money you put into that than I would for something $1 million plus in a sense, so that you have those, but everyone for me is case by case.
Does every luxury home that you guys list involve staging?
No,
If it needs it.
furniture, no.
If it needs it?
Staging
furniture,
always
no.
for all price
No.
points, but not furniture.
Yes.
I mean,
But-
we have, between the three of us, we have no problem going in and saying, hey, this needs to go, that.
So
needs
you
to
really,
go.
you are
We just
self-staging,
do,
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's excellent. Yeah, I know Martha does a lot of that too from her class. And Sonia, you have a stager in your business
Mhm.
process, so
Yeah.
not just luxury, but everybody gets
Right,
luxury.
and it-
Tell about that.
Every seller of mine receives the same presentation. I don't
Right.
have a fancy bound one. I kind of pull it together depending on what I need to showcase. Like if it was luxury, I'd have some of the Remax collection stuff, but basically the process is the same. And everyone gets my stager through there.
Yeah.
Photographer is the same guy. Now I could adjust the package
Right.
depending on how
Yeah.
many pictures I needed, but everyone gets the drone and I've pretty much done the Matterport with everyone since COVID and nice, color pictures that he creates a single property website for everything and all that. So that whole package is the same for every house. But it's not expensive. It's not like that $6,000 worth of marketing. I mean, it's really a few $100s. And I don't tell. One of my
Yeah,
clients
don't
asked
tell
me,
anyone.
they bought a house with me and they want to turn it into Airbnb. And they said, you send me your photographer's number because I want to get pictures for my marketing. And I was like, well, I really don't want you to find out. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, really. And so, it's not a whole lot of money.
You see, I tell you what, I'll take a week in that Airbnb and I'll send the photographer.
Yeah. So, the process is the same, everybody gets the same, but, I totally lost my train of thought. But yeah, sometimes the events, like you might have different events, but that's not really necessarily part of the securing the marketing to get the listing. I do a lot of video, in-person video work on site at my listings. And so I bring those up, but that's everybody can see those. And so they're actually not a marketing tool at the end of the day, they're a listing tool for the next deal. But what I wanted to say was I was just so comforted in the fact that my approach doesn't have to be any different. When I read Jordan Cohen's book, that we're going to do the book study on here. He's the top agent in RE/MAX, and he sells multi-million dollar properties in California. And his presentation is him. He goes in and he tells you in that book exactly what he says. But really it is about going in, being yourself or your team, and getting comfortable with that client and what do they need you to do and how are you going to address their fears and concerns to get them moved. And if you read his book, it'll just blow you away in terms of really he just focuses on the pictures and that's his niche. But he says, I'm not going to take 50 pictures because your house is this big. We don't want to see 5 pictures of the same room from 4 or 5 different angles, which drives us crazy, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
How many times do you stop at like 10 swipes because you want to get out of the kitchen?
Yeah.
So it's just like one
Or you
picture.
can't get to the
one picture.
thumbnails.
I know.
Because you have to go picture by picture.
I know. It's just the world's gone crazy. So what he does is he just really addresses that with them. And everyone's been online looking at houses. They all have that same experience. And then you go and say, I'm sure you've experienced this. We're not going to do that. Oh, thank goodness. What are you going to do differently? So that's how you differentiate yourself, just by being real and understanding the challenges of marketing right now. It doesn't have to be a whole lot more money or any different.
I totally agree. And I will say too, these ladies have all touched on how they sort of moved into that business and how their business moved with it, and their business reflects luxury at all price points. But if you do get a listing that is uncomfortably luxury for your typical style of business, we do have a lot of agents here that will partner with you to help you list it and get it sold so that it's, done in a way that's acceptable to the price point. And actually RE/MAX itself has something called Luxury Launchpad, where you can log onto it and talk about your house with a person on chat, and they will help you arrange all that. So if you don't already have a vendor like Sonia or like any of these ladies that you bring to every house, then that actual service will help you coordinate all that. You give them the house and the budget, and they'll give you different options. So they'll say, okay, if you've got $2,000, here are 3 things you could do, or here are 5 things you could do, or whatever. So.
And I think, in all honesty, if anybody out there in the world, comes up and gets a luxury, something they're not comfortable with, I think it's really good for you to say to your client, I am very fortunate that I'm at a brokerage and we have X amount of luxury agents, and they have, I have reached out to one, she has agreed to help me through this process. So you're not just in my hands, you're in her hands. And I would be happy to, something like that, where you admit, I have often said, I'm in a mastermind group. I want to talk to them about this property. I don't want to leave money on the table. There's unique things about this property that I just want to wrap my head around before we decide on a price. So I think I would encourage, because I think everyone on this, well, I never met you. It's wonderful to meet you, but I bet everyone on this panel would be very happy to, give what you consider our expertise to someone who's new or breaking into a price point they've never done before.
And I think it also, having worked on this really big sale this last year, there's a very small group of people that are the experts and the regular listing agents in those luxury markets. And I know a lot of them just because I've been around the industry for so long. But when I was showing with this couple, we went into several houses, and sometimes we would meet another agent coming out, and I knew them. And then we were chatting. Did your client buy that house? Oh, yeah, no, it was so and so. Oh, so it's like there's a whole little network. And so if you're not in that network, then I would say, and you wanted to sell a house, let's say you had the opportunity, get in somehow. You got to kind of get in there.
At least get your property.
Somehow get through one of us that know them or whatever, because it's a lot goes on behind the scenes at that price point too. Houses come and go, and you just knew, because when my client's house burnt down, that's how we ended up moving them last year. And it was just like panic stations. And I was getting calls from, well, you know, Tommy Pennington calls, Gabriella has one coming on. Okay, Gabriella, Sonia, oh yeah, I heard your clients were whatever, you know, so you just kind of, there's this whole network out there that it's not easy to break into, but you can, you know, get into on the periphery of it for what you need if you make an effort to understand that that's there. And you,
Well, and to your point about that, a lot of sellers that are in that price point, they've got a fabulous home, right? And so their home has a ton of things, but maybe there's that one bell and whistle that they're missing. And maybe they would move if they knew of a house that had a random giraffe on it or whatever it may be. And if you're in those circles, then you are able to communicate those coming soon. So those people that you know may have that interest, who would have never moved out of their $3 million property that has everything except a giraffe.
well, that goes to actually the presentations that we've had when we've been at like R4 and stuff like that, when they bring in these, like, what was that guy that does $1 million listing guy a few years ago? And they sell luxury in a very different way. And it's not necessarily needs driven like my client was. It was, if you have a unique situation, you take it to the person that might like that. And they like, oh yeah, I'll buy it. They weren't actually looking for a purchase, but because you had this thing that they like to look at, they're going to buy it. So that's like the uber luxury level that we're probably not really talking about, but there's a total difference in how to sell. When I was going through the luxury designation training, they were talking about that. You take your product and you go and you sell it to the market for that product, as opposed to putting it out there and waiting for people to see it. It's like backwards. So that whole
Similar
arena is
commercial
very different, right?
Yeah.
So people in that price point have the opportunity to buy things just because they want it, and they may or may not sell the other one.
Yep.
Well, and in that price point too, you, again, kind of getting a little more educated on it, is some people, like 2 years ago, moving from California, just needed to buy a property in Texas for tax.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, that's a whole nother world. That's, if you can get in and just ask questions and be interested, just to know a little bit about it, that kind of opens up the floodgates to kind of explore that area and have a little more education on it, to there when you're talking to people, they're like, oh, she's aware of that. And that kind of leads to that. But I was going to also mention networking with other agents, I think, is huge. And a way to get into that is, I mean, I feel like we get so many broker open emails. So just start going to the broker open emails. And Vic Harrow, I mean, there's one every other day, it seems, or like go to the broker opens, ask your title people if you have some title, do they have a networking event? Like, just try to get in those networking groups. And then I think something that helped me is when I fortunately got in a great networking group in more of a luxury area, all that did for me was like, okay, everyone is like me. Like, you know, like everyone is just normal.
Yes.
Just somehow they're there. So it helps you just realize, maybe get a little more confidence. But I think being in that, and like you said, you can call someone and they know someone that they know someone. But then also, even if you don't have anything going on in your world, when you're talking to clients and people out there, if you're still kind of educated, and I think our Ninja group helps with this as well, you're still educated in the current market and it seems like you're still involved or aware, and that comes across as knowledgeable, which I think is.
Well, and something you've said several times throughout this hour, you know, resonates with me. And it's not necessarily fake it till you make it, but it is sort of listening and observing more than reacting first, because you know, I've had a lot of feedback from agents, like if you are used to listing, say, $300,000 homes, and let's say we're in a negotiation over a $10,000 price decrease. Well, when you're at the multi-million-dollar level, that's never going to happen. You're going to have $100,000 price decrease. And that, you know, if you convey that that's a shock to you, it can do something completely different for the result than if you're just doing your kind of process, which I find very interesting about that market. Is it in any market, it goes to perspective. The economist that we saw the other day actually said that. He goes, there is no price house and no house that you will ever buy that you don't feel when you're signing the papers like, oh, this is expensive. It doesn't matter if you're a first-time buyer and you're buying a $200,000 house, that house is expensive to you. But the version of expensive is different. Okay, we do have a question for you from the chat. They want to hear a little bit, stop. They want to hear a little bit about the luxury process in farm and ranch and how it differs from just housing. Obviously, it's farm and ranch versus residential, but with luxury farm and ranch, and you kind of touched on it with the exotics.
Well, that can be part of it. That's more, that was kind of south in Cleveland, but like in our area, there's not a whole lot of like deer ranches and exotics, things like that. It's more just horse farm.
Yep.
And horse farms are different because horse people are crazy, straight up, they're crazy. And 9 times out of 10, they want a nice house, but they care about everything else. They care about the barn, they care about the property, they care about the ag exemption. You've got to deal with all of that. And I will say a lot of times luxury people, they do like to kind of, even though they're super smart and super educated, they like to be told kind of what to do, which is a weird thing. And you kind of got to learn to balance that. But as soon as you get comfortable in saying, hey, you know what? You read them and you go, this is the place for you. But the horse place, it just depends on whether they are quarter horse people, whether they do the reiners, whether they do barrels, or if they're the hunter jumpers is what I do. You know, the footing's important, whether or not they have the all-weather footing. It's just a strange business that I'm super comfortable in because I know it and I do it. But I get that if you don't know it, it's very daunting and
Well, and it can be big money for things that you're not necessarily trained in your license for, like to Sonia's point about residential people wanting to buy a whole house full of furniture. I know in your world, they could say, I also want that tractor, I also want
you've
that.
always got the
Yeah.
tractor.
And that could be that could be more than a house, just the one tractor.
Yeah, and you do have that with farm and ranch, but. What was the question again? I already
Like
She
the
didn't have a
difference.
Specific question,
Like the
she just wanted to hear more from you about that, and so I think you have touched on that, but just about the luxury,
Just, and you gotta, there's a lot more that can go wrong. You've got the surveys, doing loans on that is really hard a lot of times. You've got to go to a land bank.
Well, and mineral rights.
You got mineral rights,
It's
and
different.
title companies don't research mineral, you
Right.
gotta go to a landman to do the minerals. Surveys are different, sometimes there's floods zones on a lot of that, or unusable land, and people are like, well, I don't wanna pay for unusable land, and I'm like, well, it's land, you still gotta pay for it.
right?
So
It's
get
attached to
over
the useful land, so hey.
it. You know, it's just all sorts of things, but the one thing people do care about most is minerals and ag exemption. That's always, you know, and if it
Cause it's like a
doesn't-
percentage you negotiate in mineral rights. It's not like all or,
Well, it just depends on what they have,
Right.
you know, you don't ever know what they have, and that's where the landman comes in, and you're like, okay, well, I think I have 100%, well, actually, you have 10,
Mhm.
so then people are like, well.
Well, what's so interesting about that is you are still dealing with the house, like, you know, that's
And
what we
then
do,
there's
we
the house,
sell and buy
yeah.
houses,
Yeah.
but there's so many other components to it, it's actually not even the largest percentage overall, you've got all these different moving parts, so. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So as far as if you guys were gonna give advice, because we are coming up on the end of the hour here, and so I wanna make sure that if anybody has questions, they can ask them, but. If there was some advice that you would give about the luxury market or anything that we did not say that's left off the table, if you guys have any feedback.
Say. Treat everyone the same, just go at it.
Okay.
I don't listen to this is again where I was am a bad agent, I don't go to any
But you know you're
any
good. at-
training or
Yes.
anything like that, I don't listen to market updates, cause I don't wanna know, in my world, it's good. So I'm just gonna keep on the thought that everything's good, everyone always needs a house, and I learned that from my mother. Everyone
yeah.
always needs a house, there's a buyer out there that needs a house.
The Economist touched on that. He said, you'll hear all this news and you'll hear all the media and it will bum you
It
out.
bums you out, I don't want
You have to go do the
I
facts.
just do my thing.
Mhm.
I
And
live
you
in my
are,
bubble.
but you are excellent at knowing the facts of your specific market and niche. And that's the news. That's the reality of our market. So you are actually able to talk about the news that they're hearing because you're able to say what's happening.
Because everyone,
Locally.
to me, at the end of the year, everyone's like, oh, well, it's so slow, it's so this, and I'm like, oh, really, is it? I mean, I don't,
Yep.
I literally do not pay attention.
Yep.
So my client that I told you, the pilot who turned into the Lockheed guy, he taught me something that is like, you might think is silly, and Stephanie's probably gonna laugh, but it's true. He came home from his trip to DC looking for a house, and he said to me, Mary, the agent who picked me up from the airport was driving a Ford. What's the little Ford called?
Yes.
Focus.
Yeah, Focus.
Yeah.
Was driving
I
a
love
Ford
it.
Focus.
Love it.
He said, why would an agent who's showing me $2 million houses show up in a cheap car like that? And I think at the time, I don't even know what I was driving at the time, but that resonated with me. And so, not that I think everyone needs to go out and buy a luxury
Fake it
car.
till you make it again.
What are you talking about?
Fake it till you make it.
Faking it till you make it. That's not how you present
Present.
yourself. And do you present yourself as someone who really would know what a 500, 700 million, 2 million, $6 million house sells for, looks like, lives like? And that is important.
So what
And-
did you show up in?
Well, I don't remember what I may have driven a Ford Edge at the time, but I don't think so.
Now she's got a Beamer.
I do. I have a BMW SUV, the little one. I lease it for tax purposes. I mean,
We're all.
But-
we all do.
but I mean, that is what, I mean, it
Picture
really
of
taught me something. My
Your
car,
office, yeah.
my car, how I dress or
I will
whatever.
say, I do try to always dress. I mean,
Mhm.
if you see me when I'm not showing, it's not pretty. But I do, I can roll in some pajamas, but I do, everyone, I think it's respectful.
I do
to
too.
Get yourself.
It's your marketing.
Yeah.
Well, when you talk to people, it's
They're
funny
worth
with the cars, it's like. We're all talking about cars and my sister, I'm like, she's always like, you need a minivan. And I'm like, I would love a minivan, but I can't drive a minivan to show up at $1 million listing. And everyone's like, oh yeah. Everyone gets it, not even agents, like
That's funny.
everyone, the non-agents are like, oh, that's true. And I'm like. Thank you. I will go get that car then. But it's,
Well, you're gonna have to add a new car seat soon, so.
well, I know, well, the one I have now is made for 3. Oh,
It's made for 3 people?
no, 3
3
rows.
babies, oh,
3 babies, 3 car seats.
okay. Sonia, what about you?
So I would just say, if the reason that you're interested in selling luxury homes is because you feel like that's going to increase your take home pay, which probably will, then that's not a bad objective. But I would say set your goals on just increasing in increments. So don't, start of the year say, I'm going to sell a $10 million house, because you could spend all year trying to find that. And at the end of the year, you might sell one, but if you made any more than you would have done if you'd done slow and steady. So I would say, look at where you're at and decide what the next step might be. And then you can either choose a farm or do open houses. That's a traditional way. We haven't even mentioned that, but hold open houses in the area of the price point you want to start to work into and get to know those areas. And, try and, well, I was going to go down a different route there, but that's not going to work. So, yeah, so I would say, look at it and go up to the next level. So Buffini always says that referrals from business owners are likely a higher price point. Then I don't really have data to support that, but I do a lot of business to business as well. So network, integrate a business to business side of your lead gen. We haven't talked about that, but I'm sure we've done a panel on it. But so that
We have one this year, actually. You're on it.
today. Come back for the next installment. So, and that's another way to increment. But if your average price point now is 300, maybe try to go to 5. Don't try and go to 3 million. And that's not a whole lot different either. But then next year you go up a bit more. So I would say that would probably be a strategy.
I think that's smart also to slowly build your confidence at the same time as you're building your sphere of influence and your knowledge of the different markets. As you're incremental, then obviously don't turn something down if somebody drives up and says, hey.
Well, no, just get help. But then, of course, if you live through another of the economic boom like we had here, then you float up, so we're already into, average price in Southex well over $1 million, and it wasn't when I started selling those things. Time is a healer also.
Yeah, but to how we started this whole conversation about us having different price points all within our one metroplex, but everybody's moved up. So the 2s are now 4s, the 4s are now, so on and so forth.
Right.
So it's very interesting. You kind of touched on yours, but did you have any thoughts about that? About anything that you would give advice to somebody who's looking to get into luxury? Treat everybody the same. is what you said. Yes.
Yeah.
Just work. That's all I can say.
How many of you ladies?
Differentiate. I can't stand it when agents go, I don't do anything below 500. Well, that's too bad for you.
Yes, well, and then you're gonna miss that guy who bought the mobile home who referred you 3 deals in your future.
My last little thing for, again, of just repeating, because I guess I do say it a lot, is don't be afraid to reach out to the agents that are in that higher price point or in that price point. If it's 600,000, like I call agents that are friends that are different brokerages that I remember calling my friend Lauren and like, what is the difference between the 3 million? Like, I don't know what I need to be coming across, like, just ask these other agents because typically it's all of us should really be getting along to have great transactions. But I call other agents, our brokerage, other brokerages, because I think there's so much value to that all the time and ask questions all the time just to see like, what are you doing? What is your listing presentation? I'm always trying to figure it out but just ask around. That way you'll kind of realize, okay, I'm kind of on the track or, oh, I need to look into that. I had no idea what she just said, kind of thing.
How many of you have your luxury designation?
Oh, I can go to get
You
it.
guys, not you yet, no, yeah, you're working on yours.
Doing it.
I think that's.
Can you guys tell what it was and how you, what the requirements were? Because it is different than a lot of the other designations. It requires a combination of education, production and all that. And I remember with you, we had to switch you on the team lead and all that.
Years ago.
Mhm.
Oh,
You're right.
I don't remember what the production was.
Neither.
Do you?
So, I do, it's a dollar amount of production transactions within a certain time period. I don't know what.
You
it is
actually,
for-
so for
this year.
luxury, it has to be in the top 20 percentile
Mhm.
for the market that you
Within
sold in,
that.
and you have to qualify transactionally.
Within a certain amount of months.
Within 24 months, and
Okay.
so you either have to do 2 buys and a sell
Mhm.
or 3 sales. It's a combination of, but it all has to happen within a 24-month period.
And then there's like different
Yes.
levels. Like if you sell like $2 million, you get the gilded, and then
Right.
3 million plus you get this.
Right,
And then I think that's it.
and so, you can take the designation class, you can join the
Love that.
institute
That was
as
great.
a
I think that's great.
nobody.
Yeah.
And pay them the money, and then once you qualify, then you get your whatever recognition it is.
Yeah.
Within the designation, but I do wanna say this. So Teresa's mother was with our office for almost 40 years, so she does have a designation. Her mother was a luxury agent in our
Yeah.
market for 39 years.
Yeah.
So while she doesn't credit herself much in education, she truly was an apprentice for 39 years and then did it herself for 29, so
Yeah.
give yourself a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
Just as much.
I don't even know, like, I couldn't even tell you how much I sold last year. I have no clue. Like, I just don't even.
And Teresa's motto is, when you ask her what she does for her business, she goes, I get up and work it every day.
Well, it's on.
I know. That's
It's one of the
part
reasons that we wanted to
I know.
highlight you, yeah,
Yeah.
it's because you're naturally living that life, sort of like Mary said earlier, where she's plugged herself into that sphere, it's become your natural life to work that, so. What was interesting, and I was telling Johnny about this morning, is normally when I set up the panels, people are like, oh yeah, I can talk about that, whatever. All 4 of them, even though multiple people throughout the office, I went around polling, I even talked to Jason, I talked to Victor, several people. Who would you want to hear from about luxury? I started asking, who do you want to hear from? What type of people do you want to hear from? Their names were mentioned multiple times. All of them, when I call, they're like, oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. But they, as you can tell, it is a different perspective to each of them. Just before that closes off, on that luxury designation, what was the educational piece? Was it a series of classes, one class? Do you remember?
It was
Quite a lot of.
I think so too, yes.
It was a retreat. Or
Mhm.
whatever you call it.
That.
That was so fun.
Yeah, and we did
It
the
was such good networking.
convention, so the luxury convention, I know you're going, I don't know if anybody else is going, a bunch
I
of us
would.
went to
I
the
plan
one
on
in Los
going.
Salinas
I
a
don't
couple
know.
years back.
Maybe.
It's at the Four Seasons in California this year, I can't remember, I just saw it.
Isn't it
I thought it was
Tahoe?
San Diego.
Yeah,
You know,
is
We're
it?
so,
Yeah.
we're so busy selling, we don't.
Well,
I went to the top 100. for the
I get
first
these
time, first
invites
thing I've
all
ever
the time.
done, and I'm like.
And it's fun, isn't it?
and now you're hooked.
The top 100 in the local.
No, I'm kidding.
Well,
It is fun. It's a beautiful group. It's really great.
What's interesting to me is I like all conventions, and I will say,
I don't.
kind of which kind of to our conversation about the difference in selling, the difference in the convention is apparent as well. The education is different, the
Yes.
speakers are different, the lunch is nicer, it's at the Four Seasons instead of the Marriott, and
Yeah, the
Marriott's
luxury.
aren't nice, but
Yeah.
I will say, if it is something that has piqued your interest, and obviously this one's out of state, but if they do come back in state, or if it's something that if you wanna budget in, it is a good convention to go
But you-
to learn more about.
All the
this.
topics are good.
But the people
And
are just
speakers.
real. I mean,
Yes.
they
They
will
are.
just sit,
Yeah.
they just sit there like this and tell you what they do,
Yeah.
and they just do it. They just work hard and do it
And
consistently.
it's really good.
Yeah.
And they'll give you everything you need. You know, here's my cell phone, here, you know, listing presentation, here's a
Yep.
link. It's just, I mean, it sounds like, it's not like snooty stuff.
No,
It's
no.
just like even more real world
Super
than
helpful.
the rest
Yeah,
of it.
well,
to be
it's sort of like you were saying, once you are in that circle, you realize they're normal people.
Uh-huh.
They're just like you, I think is how you put it, but yeah.
Yeah.
When I started in real estate in 2005, my goal was to make $36,000 a year. 3,000 a month, because that's what was gonna be helpful to our family situation. That was my goal. My goal has never been, you know, to be a luxury agent, to sell $1 million houses, none of that. It just happened. So, you know, whatever your goal is, I mean, you just have to trust the process. If you keep working hard, doors will open, and you may get open to a luxury listing and you may not, but that's okay. Because there are a lot of people out there who do a lot more transactions than I do. Who work very hard and they make really good money as well. I mean, so you just have to go with the flow, just allow it to happen.
Highland Village and Rexel would like you guys to know that they are very appreciative of your different perspectives and business styles. So I did just want to say that out loud, because I can hear all of you guys wondering in your heads what you said, as if it's resonating, but it is, because it is important that it's different, so. To close it off, does anybody in here have any questions, and does anybody up here have anything else they need to address? Martha?
I've got a question for Teresa. I'm just curious. Do you take, like, when you go to show your ranch properties and everything? Do you, if it's your listing, do you have a Can-Am and take them all out and show them? My son bought a ranch, and that was the one thing that really impressed me.
When they have.
Is they took us around the entire, property, showed us where the property lines
Most
were.
of them have Can-Ams
Mhm.
or some type of something that you could go around in.
Mary and I are like, what's a Can-Am?
It's like a,
Like a four-wheeler.
Oh, okay.
like a big
Okay.
jacked up
Heavy
golf
duty
cart.
golf cart.
It's a
There you
fancy
go.
golf cart.
Amanda, you don't need a Beamer if you have a Can-Am.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is.
And I will say, the game ranch I sold, they brought in the Can-Ams, someone brought them in and we drove around with the ranch guy, cause there was several people involved, so we did bring in one, they had one, and we brought in one. But a lot of it, if they don't have it, no, we do walk around and do stuff like that. Most of the time, I will say, most people don't care. They wanna get out, walk around, see the dirt. It's, they wanna know what's.
The dirt is a big deal.
The dirt,
And
it's like
It is.
over here,
And
we
the
have a
purpose.
lot of Sandy Loam, which is awesome. Over Melissa, Plano, they've got the black gumbo, which is terrible for horses. It's bad.
What do you wear? What do you wear?
I'll probably wear
Some nice boots?
jeans and boot. I have paddock boots, that's
Yeah.
what they're called.
cute.
I know, I'm like, what do you mention?
Yeah.
To ask, you go in heels and.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. Doesn't go anywhere. I do love.
With your rolling bag.
Once again, work.
Sharon, you tried the heels and you did that? Well, is anybody else in here have any further questions? Thank you, Martha.
I just wanna say this, that one of the things that I think that they do share that's a common thread, that their styles are different. That every one of them don't do things halfway,
Yes.
that every person on this panel, who I know personally. Is very, very serious about excellence, and however that gets achieved in them individually. They just don't do anything half measure. And I think that the reason, and we say this all the time, right? Nature rewards behavior. And so when your behavior is to be a servant, to serve with excellence, it will happen for you. No matter where you are in your business, we can be as intentional as we want to get the $10 million thing, but the fact is, it's the little things.
I always answer the phone, always.
Always.
Yeah.
Always, I don't care what time it is, I'll answer it.
Yeah, I need you at any
100%.
time, and you would call me, or you would at least text me and say, I'm on the other line, I'll call you right back.
And call back.
And then you call,
Yay.
I cannot.
If there's an issue, I won't hide, I'll figure it out. everything can be figured out. I really
Price is
believe
only
that.
an issue in the absence of value, and you are showing your value, your worth. Okay, well, so I would like it if you guys would just say if they have any questions after this that they didn't wanna ask publicly, if it's okay with you, if they reach out to you, and then if it is okay, how is your preferred method for that? Mary, then go down the road.
Oh, absolutely. I would say if you text me and just say, hey, can we set up a time to call? That's probably gonna be better. I'd like to tell you I'm so busy that I'm on the phone all the time, but that's not really true. I just, it's just easier to
But you
set
have
it
a
up.
lot of family stuff going on and
My family lives here. I only have family stuff when I have to go to them. When I'm here, I'm footloose and fancy free.
Yeah, same, no
probably
problem.
on the golf course.
Yeah,
Not like.
She's brewing more family, so catch her quickly.
lots of babies. No, you can text and then plan a time to call.
Yeah, that's for me.
Sonia?
Yeah, or just call me anyway.
Yeah, I'll call you back. Yeah, you can always
Yeah.
call.
Call me anytime, yeah, I'll answer.
Okay, so anybody else need anything else before we close it out? And you guys on chat are all good, right? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Okay, well, thank you all for coming and thank you guys for being on. What are they gonna do?